You ready to hear one of my French calls?
Sure, let's watch you fumble this.
Golf Bravo Mike India Victor PA 28 arrivé par le nord vertical dans 5 minutes.
I'm flying to a remote French airstrip and I'm being made to make my radio calls in French, find out how I get on and hear tips from an aviation language specialist on how to do this yourself.
So downwind is vent arrière, base is base, and final is finale. So for the majority of the messages, it's just English words pronounced in a French accent.
Finale 25.
I thought it went okay. If you're French and listening to this, score me out of 10, please. In my last video, you saw me and my son fly over the English Channel to Deauville, which I used to clear French customs. The next leg takes us just 40 miles southeast to a small airfield called L'Aigle Saint-Michel. It has the ICAO code Lima Foxtrot Oscar Lima. Whereas the bigger French airfields with FISOs and air traffic control communicate in English as well as French, quite a lot of the smaller, unattended airfields in France only allow French communications. You'll know this by looking at the airfield chart. L'Aigles says AAFR Soulement, so it's air-to-air communications in French only. Now, my French is pretty much constrained to phrases like une bière s'il vous plaît or où est la toilette? So integrating into a visual circuit using French radio telephony does present me with a challenge, but you know me, I like a challenge. So before we set off from Deauville on our 20-minute trek, I wanted to talk about travel insurance, because I wonder if you realise that if you've got normal travel insurance, the kind of stuff that you can get from wherever, the post office or Aviva or, Money Supermarket, did you know that it's unlikely to cover you if you're involved in an accident or fall ill during the course of you flying your private aeroplane, and the same for your passengers as well. They would class private flying in private aircraft, non-commercial private aircraft, as a type of activity that's usually excluded by the usual travel insurance. It's a bit like mountaineering, mountain climbing or winter sports. And so, like I say, if you were getting out of the aircraft, you tripped, you cut your leg open, or broke your arm, or worse still, you had a crash landing or something and you and your passengers needed to go to hospital, there's a very good chance that you will end up having to pay hospital bills, I suspect. And if you're trying to get back, or if somebody needs to get back with some medical help, then you've got that repatriation issue. Again, you wouldn't be covered for that. So the bills could get quite high. Another thing is, and you might not be aware of this as well, that in a lot of European countries, and I suspect Britain even does this with visitors and so on, is that if they send out search and rescue to come and look for you, let's say you make a forced landing somewhere in the middle of nowhere and they send out a search and rescue party to come and find you and airlift you or whatever, you're likely to get the bill for that as well. And again, your normal travel insurance is not going to cover it. So what do I do about this? Now, I found a company a few years back called PJ Hayman, and they offer a specific insurance for pilots and passengers traveling in non-commercial light aircraft, and it covers you for all the usual eventualities, but it covers you if any of those things were to happen during the course of you flying your light aeroplane. The pricing seems pretty average, to be honest. I didn't notice that it was particularly more expensive than other policies, but you've got the peace of mind that you're covered. Our family takes out an annual adventures policy with PJ Hayman, and I've managed to negotiate with them a 5% discount for my followers here on YouTube on their standard prices. To get that discount and to get a quote, use my special referral link, which should have popped up on the screen. If it hasn't, go to the video description. I'll also put a link on my website as well. When you request a quote, on the activities drop-down box, select the correct option, for example, flying as pilot. If you'd rather call PJ Hayman, be sure to quote Flying Reporter Productions to claim your 5% discount.
India Victor from Bravo, line up runway 30, clear for takeoff, wind 280 degrees, 11 knots, maximum 18 knots.
I'm taking Bertie to a Centre Parks, which is a family holiday resort with a pool, water slides, cycling and other outdoor activities. And the runway at L'Aigle Saint-Michel is a short taxi ride away. I'm going to use a cheat sheet of French aviation phrases to get me on the ground there safely. But what's the legality of doing this as opposed to being fluent in French radio telephony? James Emery is a Brit living in France who has a company called Linguero, and they teach aviation French and English to pilots, FISOs and air traffic controllers.
Officially speaking, there's nothing to stop you landing at an airfield that's French only. If you don't speak any French at all, it's up to you to assess whether you think it's safe to do or not. I work on the basis that whether I tell people to do it or not to do it, there will still be pilots who are going to do it. So why not try and make it as safe as possible? So the idea with a cheat sheet is, when you call on the radio, it will tell them two things. It will tell them that you're on the frequency and somewhere near the airfield, and it will also tell them that your French is pretty lousy and to try and keep out of your way. So your first call, you're going to be about 5 minutes out. So you could say arrivé par, and then the direction that you're arriving from. So north, south, east, west. So nord, sud, est, ouest. And then you could say something along the lines of vertical dans 5 minutes. Vertical means overhead.
L'Aigle, Golf, Bravo, Mike, India, Victor, PA, 28, arrivé par le nord, vertical dans 5 minutes. L'Aigle.
As we arrive overhead, we would just call vertical, so we're overhead the airfield. And then once we're overhead the airfield, we'll just make standard circuit calls, so downwind, base and final.
Which are?
So downwind is vent arrière, base is base, and final is finale. So for the majority of the messages, it's just English words pronounced in a French accent.
We'll see me attempt those calls in a minute, but first I just want to take a short break to congratulate Sherburn in Elmet Aerodrome in Yorkshire. It's been awarded AOPA Aerodrome of the Year. Representatives from the Aero Club received their award at an AOPA Members' Day at Old Warden Airfield earlier this month. The Air Accident Investigations Branch was also given a trophy for their services to flight safety. Members were also treated to a talk from the UK CAA's chairman, Sir Stephen Hillier. There are many benefits of being an AOPA member, and Flying Reporter viewers get 25% off new 1 and 2 year subscriptions. Use the link on the screen or in the video description.
Let's go. Mixture rich fuel, radios, engine temperatures and pressures, 15.
Radio telephony isn't the only difference you need to be aware of when landing at aerodromes in France. The overhead join isn't the same as that usually employed in the UK either.
So you could ask 5 different pilots about how to join the circuit and get 5 different answers in French flying clubs. The way I got taught to do it, and the standard way that they get taught in most flying clubs, is to arrive at 500 feet above the circuit height, fly along the centre line of the runway in use for about 30 seconds at cruise speed, and then turn crosswind, and you descend to circuit height at crosswind. On the crosswind leg.
So down the runway, do I count my 30 seconds from the start of the runway or the end?
It's normally from the far end, from the end of the runway, 30 seconds.
So once you've completed the whole runway,
yeah, then 30 seconds from there.
Then crosswind.
Then crosswind. Descend on the crosswind leg.
And then downwind, final.
Yeah, and then just a standard downwind join.
L'Aigle, Golf, Bravo, Mike, India, Victor, PA, 28, 5 miles to the north, estimate vertical 2 minutes. I don't know what miles is. French.
Well, it's only one word you messed up, so...
So we're going to try and do a French overhead join. Yeah, I see the runway now. Windsock we could do with. Do not see what the windsock's doing. It's saying 151. 122, so we've got a tailwind now. Yeah, we've got it is going to be 25. So now we descend to 1500 feet. L'Aigle, Golf, Bravo, Mike, India, Victor, PA, 28, vertical, L'Intégré, vent arrière, 25.
So as James described, I'm flying at a height of 1500 feet along the runway in use.
Now we count 30 seconds from here.
I maintain height and runway track for half a minute. Bertie helps me with the timing.
It's been roughly 30 seconds.
I know, I'm just waiting. I wasn't going to go over these buildings, that was why. I know you're trying to help. L'Aigle, Golf Bravo, Mike India Victor, L'Intégration, 21, 25. Brakes, undercarriages down, 3 greens, mixture, fuel, landing line, car beat we don't have, direction indicators aligned, doors are locked, you're strapped in, yeah?
Yeah.
L'Aigle, Golf Bravo, Mike India Victor, Baz, 25, L'Aigle. Come a bit wide to avoid going over houses. L'Aigle, Golf Bravo, Mike India Victor, Finale, 25.
So I made it down safely. Some rather sketchy phrases used there, but I think local pilots would have got the message. They certainly would have got the message that my French is terrible and hopefully will have stayed out of my way. But actually on the day there was no other traffic. Had there been, I might have had to try and understand their intentions and their positions of other aircraft as they would have been speaking in French, but it's not too difficult once you know the basic phrases. Of course, you will have to exercise caution if landing somewhere with, say, parachuting for example, or gliding, as that would make things quite a bit more complicated. After landing, I could have used other phrases, for example, piste dégagée for runway vacated and roulage vers le parking, which means taxiing towards the apron. If you want to see what the phrases are for departing a French-only airfield, the video of my return flight is a bonus bit of content on my Supporters Club channel, which is available now on Patreon. James and I have also put together a cheat sheet of all the important phrases that you can download for free on my website. Welcome to L'Aigle Saint-Michel. Thank you for watching The Flying Reporter. Please subscribe, like, and join me for the next episode. Fly safely, my friends.